Is it, it's all on?
It's all on and going
Oh, okay.
and ongoing.
It's ongoing, just like history, which, oh my god, what is this? Is this a history Oh, we're in a history podcast.
Huh?
The most ongoing of stuff. History never stops, and that happened with Max and Arash.
That
I'm
happened.
Arash.
I'm Max.
Yep, we're here to bring to you more of our opinions and tales
Mhm.
from history.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a lot of stuff prepared. I think.
I think
should
we
be,
do.
Should be a good one.
I think after last week we both got really excited.
Yeah, exactly. No, the good thing about having this podcast is now I actually have to read all these books that I've been buying.
Yeah.
But like they're all huge. Like
Yeah, man.
well, it sucks is on Goodreads they have this challenge where it's like if you read like 6 books by the end of the year, it's like a thing. But then everyone's picking all these like easy books, like self-help books or like little
Yeah.
novels. But like, there's no one gives me credit for reading like a 600-page boring history book. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, that's one.
yeah, that's the equivalent to like all your dumb
That's fine.
adulting books and stuff.
You gotta
Yeah.
count it by the word.
Yeah, exactly. It's like much more hard to read, and you have to comprehend it. You can't like skim it. Yeah, then someone reads like how to not give a fuck. or
How to
something,
not give a
and then
fuck.
they get like a bunch of stuff.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Goodreads makes me so angry. It's my favorite site though. It's a good.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know. I just go on there to. I used to go on there to get reviews of books, but I now own
yeah.
like all the books I ever want to read.
Yeah, now I have them all.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting once you actually have the books.
No.
Yeah.
Now you know that people think it's good and will respect you if you read them,
Yeah.
and you don't need Goodreads anymore.
But, you know, back in the day, like having a book was such a like even one book because it meant like a bunch of monks made it. They had to like sew the stuff. Then it was probably like pillaged, and then it came from like Spain, and then you were like a noble, and you had like your one book.
Yeah.
It probably cost like $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know,
Absolutely.
or whatever currency, 10,000 drachmas
Mhm.
or something. I don't know.
And then you had somebody who just was around to do art on the books and make
Oh,
every
yeah,
page
yeah, yeah.
pretty.
It seems like that's
Yeah.
a lot of monk life was just you were really just like a
Yeah.
printing press. It must have been kind of fun. Like just,
Yeah.
it's like working in like a publishing house kind of.
Yeah. Kind of a boys' club. Just
Yeah,
like,
boys'
hey,
club. Yeah.
smacking each other's asses. And they're just,
Oh yeah. It's like, hey, did you get the art done for that one? It's like, I'm working on it. Yeah. Oh, I've got all this stuff to transcribe. He like plops a bunch of stuff on the new guy's desk.
yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, have fun. Have a good weekend. Yeah. Oh yeah, they should make a Mad Men with monks. That'd be fun.
That would be
All
so fun.
monk men, where it's just like a big abbey, and like Don Draper is like a sexy monk, and it's like him like cavorting and stuff.
Mm.
I don't know. Anyway, okay, that's.
All right. What did you have today?
Oh right. Okay, so. It's some popular stuff. It's been online. I'm sure people have seen this. The first one is oh my god. Okay, so it's pretty much Pompeii, the city that was covered with lava. So yeah, Pompeii, the resort town. I guess even back then it was a resort town.
Oh.
Anyway, so they found all this graffiti on the walls. They've been translating it, but it's all like really lewd graffiti. Which is funny because I don't know. In my head, I kind of always imagined like in the past everyone was like more puritanical and stuff, like really stiff, and then we all got more liberal and like fun as time went on. But actually, back then they were cooler than us. I think now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there are periods of each.
Yeah, right. Because like I sort of imagine old people they just never had sex. They always wore like never showed their skin, very like rigid and stuff. But no, like so this is some of the stuff. This guy there was the brothel of Inulus and Papillo. Someone wrote, "Weep, you girls, my penis has given you up. Now it penetrates men's behinds. Goodbye, wondrous femininity." Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's great. Someone,
Makes you wonder what you're missing, I guess. If
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
has sex with one man and gives up womankind altogether.
Yeah, we also like announced to them. It's like I'm done
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, I'm out of here. Oh, it's great. Yeah, there's one. Let me see. Let's see. Celadus the Thracian makes the girls moan, and then it's yeah. That was in the barracks of the gladiators. That's cool. Oh man, it's just so good. Someone wrote on the House of Orpheus. Someone wrote, I have buggered men.
I have buggered men.
Yeah.
They're so proud of it back then.
Yeah, it's funny because then, like now, like yeah, back then you actually want to admit it's like you admit you're gay on in graffiti. It's kind of cool.
They're not shameful about it.
Yeah.
I think it's like moving from MySpace to Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
People are like, "You're still having sex with women."
Yeah, you're still doing that.
You're still doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy wrote in the Umechia building. This guy wrote, "Secundus likes to screw boys." That's so weird.
Wow.
It's all like buggering and screwing.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And then they all died. It must have been a good time.
And then they all died.
Yeah.
It makes you believe in Providence almost.
Dude, this is Chi. I hope your hemorrhoids rub together so much that they hurt worse than they ever have before. Yeah.
That's really good.
Man, honestly, that must have been a fun time. Like, this is a life in Rome. I always imagine, like, we think we have it all. We have, like, technology and, like, electricity and stuff. Like, back then, it must have been alright. Mm-hmm. It probably wasn't that much different. They just didn't have, like, lights and PlayStations.
Yeah, man.
Probably pretty similar, yeah.
It's interesting because that was supposed to be one of the most licentious cities in the world.
Oh, Pompeii! It was just like a party place.
Yeah, and then it got lavaed, and then you have Port Royal, which was just a disgusting place, and then that just fell into the ocean, which just collapsed into the ocean one day. There's so many instances.
It's kind of prophetic. Like,
yeah.
does it mean like Sodom and Gomorrah is like a real thing?
Yeah.
But, like, once the city gets to a level of just degradation, nature will just kill it somehow. Like, yeah, it's like Las Vegas. It's gonna happen to Vegas, which is probably why there's so many shootings there. That's God trying to get us out of Vegas. Yeah, it's like, he's like, guys, I'm trying to give you a sign here. This is you got to bring down the boogering. You have to spread it out. You can't be one city. Yeah, no.
Las Vegas is gross.
Yeah, Vegas is our Pompeii.
I like how gross it is, though. I like the sleaze of it.
Well, it's probably the way they felt. They were like, I'm going to Pompeii. Don't tell my wife, and I'm just telling I'm going on business. I'm going to Pompeii with the boys. We're gonna like go to some brothels
with the boys.
Yeah. I'm gonna do like a sacrifice to Bacchus or whatever, so I can get some better. So I can be more virile. Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
There was a Greek god who just was erect all the time.
Yeah, they had like special
Priapus, that's the god.
Yeah, some of their gods were made to just be the gross ones. So they kind of dealt with that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, like the main gods, like Apollo. Like, Apollo's never going to be dealing with human sexuality.
No.
He's a more grand god. But then you have lower gods where all their complaints are all just like penises and I can't get it up and prayers like that. It's like, come on, God.
This is what MAICAR.com says, Greek mythology link. It says Priapus is a god of fertility, protector of horticulture and viticulture. His statue, holding a wooden sickle in his hand, was used in the Roman gardens as scarecrow, and his enormous penis as a threat against thieves.
How would that be a threat against thieves? Well, I guess if you try to rob someone and they were just erect, it'd be very weird.
I imagine just some Roman senator on the back portico of his house when thieves are approaching it, just waving his huge flaccid penis.
Wasn't it because back then having a big dick was like kind of bad? It was like very brutish and like not.
Was it?
Like maybe that's a myth, but it's like, did you ever hear about that? Like in old societies, they always thought it was like a brutish thing. Like, oh, he's such a brute. He was this big. But then like people of class had little dicks because they had time to like think about. Yeah, they were like nice and
worldly affairs.
Yeah, worldly. I mean, spinning a globe and like plotting maps and stuff. But then the guy with the big dick was just like barfing and like farting and stuff. And, like, yeah,
barfing and farting.
Yeah, sexuality back then was interesting. It wasn't. Yeah. No one was like proud of you if you were getting laid.
Yeah,
they're like, all right, you disgusting animal.
Yeah,
yeah, but
it's how we treat women now, but for everyone.
I know.
That's how it was.
It was shameful. Everyone was very ashamed. Yeah.
As they should have been.
Yeah, they should have been. Yeah.
Nobody should have sex.
That's the thing. Yeah, I'm really tired of sex positivity. Like, it's just
it's wrong.
Yeah, as we can see from the Romans,
it's just gross.
Yeah,
sex is gross.
Yeah, I mean the Romans got away with it because they weren't like STDs back then, and I don't know how they had orgies all the time. They had like weird contraception methods. Like if you like squirted like an orange and down there, it would like neutralize the stuff.
It would what?
Well, like people would find weird ways to like kill sperm. They had like spermicides and stuff. It was very weird. Yeah.
That's so cool. I know that in ancient Rome, they would use hardened bread as dildos.
Jesus.
Yeah, they just get bread. That'd be very smooth bread, I guess, and they would use it as dildos.
Yeah, they had like sheep's bladder condoms. They had cat guts. They used those. Yeah, no, and they use cats for like piano chords and strings.
Yeah, and violin strings.
Oh, it's horrible.
So there would be a gentleman who was an artisan who made violins and guitars and condoms.
Yeah. He's like, please tell me you're here for a violin. Oh, no.
You use these to woo the ladies and these for the after wooing.
It's the whole package, me lord. I have it all. Yeah. This was great. This is a good joke. Someone wrote in the Basilica, the one who buggers a fire burns his penis. That's so funny. But yeah, no, people back then were pretty horny.
Pretty gross.
This one, Restitutus has deceived many girls. And apparently he's actually a pretty common guy. There's multiple graffiti about this one guy, Restitutus, where he asked Restituta, who might be his sister, to show us her hairy privates. So, yeah. So, God, what a bunch of creeps. These people are just awful. There's also there's like a mosaic relief of two guys just double teaming someone. Oh my God.
Well, one guy's bent over. The guy, one guy's boning him, and then the guy behind that guy is boning that
him.
Guy. Yeah.
I know. It's like there's one couple is doing doggy style, and then the third guy is just fucking the guy who is.
Yeah, they're both like standing up.
God,
and it has to hurt.
I don't think I would make it in Roman society. Like, they're so into sex.
They're very advanced.
Yeah,
I think
I would be uncomfortable if I went back then.
Yeah,
like, it's very weird. They're so open. I think I would be like. I think we would be lame if we went back there. They'd be like these guys in the future are so like closed off.
Yeah, we're trying to show them iPods. They're like, that's interesting, and then just trying to squeeze this lady's breast.
Yeah, they're just putting our iPod like in their asshole and stuff. Like, hey, whoa, hey, yeah.
We just bring back. It would be funny to bring back like different. Like ancient technology to us, but just like early computers, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," and they'll be like, "Yeah, you like that? How about this?" And keep doing that.
Yeah, we take them like an abacus. I think it's anal beads. We're like, "Whoa, it's fucking freaks! God damn it, stop it! I brought that here to teach you guys algebra."
Using MacBooks to smack each other's asses.
Yeah. Man, I know. Honestly, like the whole question of what would you take if you went back in time? Just take a bunch of dildos and stuff and like sex toys. Yeah.
Just take a bunch of fun dildos. That's all they would care about.
Yeah, that's all they would care about. Yeah, like dildos and swords and stuff.
Like nobody cared about knowledge back then, really.
No, the only guys. There was only one guy who read.
Yeah.
There was one guy who read books in the whole city, and then he was like a nerd. No one liked him, but he was like advising the king and stuff. That was cool. Yeah. Yeah,
and then
he was like trying to like read, and everyone's having sex outside. It's like, can you keep it down? I'm trying to like save the realm right now. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you keep it down?
Yeah, guys, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
It's like the 10th orgy this week. Stop. Yeah, and they're like, Mercutio is such a drag. Yeah.
Him trying to figure out just a calculus. Like Thomas, like Newton trying to figure out calculus. Yeah. He's been working so hard. He is a lifelong virgin, and he's just like hearing people orgies outside.
Yeah, he was a famous virgin.
He was.
Yeah, because he also, have you heard how evil he was? Where
no.
So he relished in like finding tax debtors and stuff, because like back then it was a big crime to be in debt.
Yeah.
So he would like find them, like track them down, and he would go to their hangings and just like watch them die. Really fucked up. He was like super into it. And,
so he would like turn them in, and then
because he would find them. He would like go through records, like figure out people who were like scamming, and, like find them out. He was like a detective, but then he just did it so he could see them die.
God,
it was really fucked up.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, just imagine you get caught, and like the nerd who caught you just comes to your execution.
What would be the 18th century equivalent of swatting?
What's swatting?
When you call in a SWAT team.
Oh yeah.
Back
it's
then,
probably like you get the Pope mad at them or something. Yeah.
They issue a papal bull that you have to be. Yeah.
Or it's like in the Muslim world, you would like. Yeah, you would do something and then like get a fatwa called on them, and then like, hey man, come on, we're just having fun. And then, Yeah, because he stole your star chart or something that you were plotting with.
Funny.
Yeah.
So you say he drew the prophet
Yeah,
or something, and then all these people just storm your house.
Yeah, storm.
I like thinking of Thomas Newton just like trying to work on calculus, and then people are fucking outside, just looking out the window. It's like, you guys, and they don't stop, and then they eventually stop. He's like, whew. And he has like 4 seconds of silence, and they start up again.
Oh god, just the rabble down like on the street, just the peasants and stuff. Yeah, oh man, I never just imagine back then. It was just like, if you weren't a peasant, you would have must have been so annoyed because you're just like trying to walk down the street, just like chamber pot fluids everywhere, and like just peasants caked in shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they say? There's an old saying where if they didn't have religion, they'd be screwing in the streets and frightening the horses. I think it's
frightening the horse.
I don't know where I heard that. I think that's so funny.
No, like people have just been animals. Like honestly, like, because people say that the reason we view the past as puritanical is because like, literally the name, like there's just that one era of like 100 years has made everyone so boring and stiff and like sterile that we just imagine the past that way.
Yes.
But before that, it was just a romp, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was such a good time.
Yeah.
Like everybody was having a great time. They were unbridled. Yeah. They were without education, so they were having just a very good time.
Well, it's crazy. Speaking of I was actually gonna mention this last time. That there's this book. It's called the Crusades Through Arab Eyes. It's a pretty good book. It's by Amin Maalouf. He's like a Lebanese writer. But they kind of talk about how like advanced the Islamic world was like around like the time of the Crusades, because like in southern Spain in like Andalusia, like they had like they had like paved roads, they had lamps, like sewage systems, aqueducts. Like it was like monks were coming down there just being like in awe. They were just like, holy shit, these guys have like medicine.
Yeah. Like
dude, back then they could do cataract surgery. They could like put a needle in your eye and like take out cataracts.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's fucking nuts. Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was this great city. It's now it's like a Barcelona stadium or something. So I don't know. Yeah.
Back to Priapus.
Oh, the big dick guy.
The big dick guy.
He was good. I like that.
Yeah. He had a big erect penis. And the priapism is when your penis can't go down. No.
It what?
That's named after that god.
You're always erect.
Priapism. If you're like when they say if you take Viagra and your erection lasts so long, that's called priapism.
Jeez.
If you just
wait, it's named after a Greek god.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Priapism.
That's cool. No, honestly, it's I sort of dig the whole like polytheist thing because they just like compartmentalize all their gods. They have like keep them separate. But then like now we just have one god.
It's interesting. In India, they keep a lot of food pretty separate. Like when they hand you food, like they'll hand you this separately, and then everything's very, very separate.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of that way with the gods.
It's like a buffet. Yeah. You just like take what you want for that day. Yeah, exactly.
This is my favorite god.
Yeah, and it's very like bureaucratic. It's like if you want a better harvest, then you have to do these 3 things. You got to sacrifice these 5 things. You take it to the temple. You do a thing, and then you get a better harvest. It's like very like you take a number. You kind of just do
That's so crazy. Like sacrificing a lamb.
Yeah.
Gets you a certain amount of. I mean, it's supposed to get you more lambs, but if it doesn't, you just lost another lamb.
Exactly. Well, it's so foolproof too, because then if the harvest doesn't come, then it's like, oh, we obviously did something wrong.
Yeah. So, we obviously did something wrong. You were just paranoid all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing things, just praying to different gods. Like, sorry to this god, sorry to that. I did something for this god, and it pissed off this god.
Oh man. I know. Honestly, it's also like I'm kind of jealous. Like it sucks just knowing people back in the day had a better time than us. Yeah. Like, I thought right now was the best time to be alive.
I doubt they had a better time because they didn't have like sufficient dental advancement back then.
That's true.
Yeah, that would have really sucked. I mean, anything medical would have sucked really bad because they had no idea.
Once you get hurt, you're done.
Yeah, they had no idea what they were doing. I mean, and the life expectancy was much shorter, so I think people were pressured to do fun things. Yeah.
So it's like you actually do have to live hard and die fast. Yeah, because yeah, it sucks. Like also trying to get through life unscathed. Like you have to like never get pricked by never get a paper cut.
Yeah.
Never trip on, never stub your toe.
Like everything will give you a staph infection.
Yeah,
because everything's not washed and you're not washed.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one nail goes through your shoe, you're done.
Yeah, your own germs are getting in there.
Yeah.
You want to protect yourself from your own germs that you don't care about.
Yeah. Then the doctor makes it worse. He like cuts off your hand for some reason.
Cuts off your hand,
like,
or just
bleeds you.
bleeds you, puts leeches all over you. That's how Gogol died. Like
really?
He refused to eat, and then for religious reasons or something, he was partaking in a religious fast that got too out of control or something like that, and then he was in with these priests who were bad at medicine and just put leeches all over him.
Once again, it's the boys' club. He went to the wrong abbey, and they were like,
yeah,
all right, bro, come on up. Yeah,
he
dude,
fell in with the wrong priest.
Yeah, the priest was like, oh, dude, whose turn is it to fucking do the leeches, bro? And like, oh, dude, it's me, Jacob. And Jake, like, comes in like drunk. So, dude, I was fucking doing the manuscript, bro. Come on. Yeah.
Gogol's dad was like, who you fell in with some bad priests?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I told him, he is the company he keeps, and he has these priests, and they're just awful men. Yeah. Horrible men. Priests. Also, honestly, like, if someone has, like, more than one friend as a priest, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is.
Not a good sign.
That was all, those were all his friends. I mean, he wrote Dead Souls, and then he thought that everything he wrote, because it was fun, was unholy.
Oh.
So he was going to write another book of Dead Souls that was supposed to be like the Paradiso.
Okay.
And it was supposed to expiate everything he'd ever done. And then
that's the kind of shit, like someone self-flagellating, punishing themselves. That's what I like. That's like what I do. So that's kind of cool.
Me too.
Yeah, he was not going to orgies. He was like writing cool scrolls and just. Yeah,
he stayed home and wrote, as Horace said. Horace always said, I stayed home and wrote. All this stuff happened in history, but, I stayed home and wrote.
Yeah, I stayed home. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember where he said that, but...
That's hilarious.
Yeah. The poet Horace.
Oh, man. Oh, speaking of living, I was thinking they should do a movie of Mozart's life, but it's like it's like what that movie Almost Famous, where he's just like, it's like Mozart like on the road, and like they're staying at like hotels and like motels and like doing drugs and like getting out of gigs and like fighting with managers and shit. It'd be fun, like a cool Mozart like movie.
So like, he's like wrecking hotel rooms.
Yeah, he's like a big rock star. And, like he's like
throwing shit out the window.
And like the booker like stiffs on the money, so they like drive the RV like. That'd be cool with the carriage. Yeah.
I mean, he that was a lot. Some of that was true. I mean,
he
was just bad with money and just spent it on having fun all the time.
Yeah, no, like him on the road, because he died really young.
He drank himself to death in the street, just poor and lonely.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, what an idiot.
What an idiot. Yeah, drinking yourself to death, lame.
He was pretty handsome, though.
Was he?
Yeah, I see it. He's a pretty dashing guy.
Dashing fella.
Yeah, so he was nursed in his final illness. Then he finished the Requiem. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Died at 35, damn.
Mm-hmm.
He really is like the first rock star musician, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you had lady singers back in the day who everyone fell all over because they were hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You had your divas. I don't know that you had many rock stars, but you had divas.
Oh man, dude, he had like just awful shit. He had like mercury poisoning, kidney ailments. God, this guy.
Well, he didn't take care of himself his whole life.
Yeah, that's so funny back then. You're like, well, he just didn't take care of himself.
Yeah. He just.
I'm telling these young artists, man, take care. Get off that lean. Get off those mollies.
He just trusted his genius. He was like, I know I'm a genius, and I'm gonna make enough money to support what I'm gonna do later. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a prostitute today.
Yeah.
That was Mozart's motto.
I will gladly pay you Tuesday. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, him and it's so funny how they made little boys wear these like weird dresses. I know,
they just like dressed them up like adults. So they thought it was all cute.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Yeah. It's like, he's like a little colonizer.
I was reading about in 1500 Spain.
Oh yeah.
Women had these wires that would inflate their dresses.
I heard about those, yeah.
And they were so big at that period that when they went to the theater, the proprietors would charge them for 2 seats. That's so funny.
They're like, all right, fatty. Yeah, you wanted to look cool, now you have to pay the price. Yeah, that's hilarious.
I think that's so funny. Like, most arts are trying to exaggerate certain things. Like, music is exaggerating inflections of speech.
Yeah.
In different ways. And then what are they trying to do with that? You make it so you have the hugest ass.
Yeah, I think, it seems like the taste of has kind of changed. Like, first they're like, because wasn't it a whole thing where if you were, like, kind of big and homely, that was hot? Yeah. It meant you were, like, of higher class. So
you had to be, you needed to have some chub, and you needed to be white as snow.
Yeah, oh god, but could you imagine how disgusting that would be? Just no offense to anybody who is that body type, but
Now you want everybody built like a cheetah, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They're
like they've had to work their whole lives for food.
Yeah.
It's so strange. Like the richest people now, the poorer people get chubbier
or fat as fuck. Yeah, because all they eat is like McDonald's because they can't afford anything else.
Yes, it's so strange.
But then rich people, they work like peasants from before,
and they look like they've had to flee from predators.
Dude, fucking the CEO of Twitter. Like I saw a photo of him. He looks like a Chinese rice farmer. Like he has the body of like a guy who carries like wheelbarrows all day. He's like he has that ripped, like he's lean and he has lean muscle. As if he's like a manual dock worker, like it's crazy,
Oh, he's not an attractive man though. I'll be damned.
I know it sucks. He's a very weird guy. He goes on like strange retreats.
What kind?
I don't know. He's one of those like people who's like trying to. He's one of those rich guys who's trying to like find his spirituality and like meaning.
Oh yeah.
But he can't admit that he's just a boring rich guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have everything, that's the only place to go is inwards. I mean, he must be a workaholic and know that there's no bottom to his work, and he's never going to get much more successful than he is.
I don't think he works, though. He just has an app. I don't know what he does. I don't know what the fuck his job is. He just has Twitter. That's like...
Yeah.
Like, then he's like a team of engineers that he like, barks orders to, probably. He's like, make the bird a bit more blue. And like, all right, boss. And
make the bird a bit more blue.
Yeah. He's like, make it,
Getting picky about small shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's not enough Nazis on this platform.
Like, make it easier for people to upload porn to Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
They're just like foggy, and then you can kind of see what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to see the goods? And then you're like, okay.
You're like, oh, I guess. You twisted my arm. Well, it's funny because there's always been the rich patron guy in history. Mm-hmm. There's always been like a lame rich guy who doesn't have any kind of swag or any kind of talent. Then he finds an actually talented person and like patronizes it. That's that's where it comes from. Because it was like Da Vinci was this like cool guy, but then he had these like rich Medicis had to come in and be like, hey, we're just some lame rich dudes, but we need like a mural for our building, and then we got him to do it, or like Michelangelo or something. Yeah.
He was so interesting. I think about Da Vinci all the time because I suffer from that weird procrastination he had, where he was interested in so many projects that he just took so long to finish any of them. And I
think he's like a cooler version of Elon Musk. He has all this shit going on. Yeah. He's like, first of all, I'm doing a flying machine. I'm building a human helicopter tomorrow, and I gotta paint, and I gotta dissect somebody.
Also, Leo, almost certainly gay.
Really?
Almost certainly.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. Okay. He was reported like he had a bad relationship with his mom, and he hated women too.
Oh, so he was gay and hated women.
Yeah, he just didn't like them around him.
Oh my god, that's so
I
funny.
guess and then he was gay, but I don't know.
Oh, here's my impression of Leonardo da Vinci. Anatomy. Because he's gay. Yeah. I want to open up your body. I want to cut you open. I hate women.
Vivisect you.
Yeah. Oh my god, is that grave open? Like, can I like rub it? Can I take the body? Yeah.
Can I rub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not known at Lisa, first of all. Yeah.
He liked younger men, so he was both a grave robber and a cradle robber, I guess.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Dude, that whole thing too.
He liked him younger.
God.
He was always surrounding himself with attractive youths, I suppose.
attractive. I mean, it seems, for some reason, being an artist, it's always been the prime space for being a creep.
Yeah.
He was just like Weinsteining pretty much back then. Yeah,
I'm
just
sure he was.
Creepy guy.
He was supposed to have been pretty nice, though. He was supposed to.
Don't they always say that about us? Like, guys, is a nice guy. I swear to God.
Yeah, well, there are stories of him being really meek and Michelangelo just being a huge dick to him.
Oh, were him and Michelangelo the same era?
I'm pretty sure it was Michelangelo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there was a whole scene back then. It was like the whole like Florence art scene or whatever. Yeah.
And Michelangelo thought he was a pussy and feminine, and then he would always he would just insult him, and then Leonardo would be like, "Wow, okay, well, I guess I'll go."
Okay, well...
Interesting.
Well, it was fun going to your party, but I guess I have work to do, unlike some people. Yeah. Hello, David was 20 years ago. He's like, that's 17 or whatever, 97.
Good, they had a roast battle.
Yeah.
Oh my God! He would have said Michelangelo's just like a prostitute making his fortune lying on his back. Bang, bang, burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it'd be funny too if like the some big family like the Medicis came in like trying to do a commission. But it's like the whole freelancer's nightmare where like the client just doesn't know anything about the art form. So they're like, all right, first of all, we want like a whole mural on this chapel. Like, which one? The St. Sistine's? Oh, that's a big place. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's big, but I think you could do it though. And then he's just like, I mean, I don't really want to do it. And then, did you hear about that? Where like, so the Sistine Chapel, he ran away like 3 times, and they had to get him back and like kidnap him and bring him back. They had to like force him to do it.
It's like Red Hot Chili Peppers trying to find their heroin-addicted guitarist over and over again.
He kept like escaping. So they had to it's like he's getting away, get him. He's like, no, I don't want to paint the chapel anymore.
And then they just like find him on the street addicted to betel leaves and opium.
Yeah.
Eventually, and then
he lost his mind.
He's stupid, so they can just drag him back.
No, he's doing like Great Escape shit where like they go in and like there's like a paper mache doll with like a brush in his hand, and like wait a second, if that's not Michelangelo, then where's the real Michelangelo? And he's on like a boat like leaving Venice. Or something.
You have like old timey like World War II POW escape music. Damn, 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 damn. He's lifting like he's like having somebody chisel rock, so that he can chisel the bottom of the floor and make a tunnel.
And he has like a pin-up poster he puts over it or something.
Pin-up poster. He makes a dummy of himself.
Yeah,
like on the big ladder, like by the ceiling, to make a dummy of himself.
Oh man!
And he has a little recorder, and like they come in, and like, how's everything going? I'm Michelangelo.
Yeah, I'm Michelangelo. I like painting.
I like painting.
Yeah, they come in at night. He's like,
for some reason,
he must be asleep. Yeah,
for some reason, he gets an actor who doesn't sound anything like him to do his voice. I'm Michelangelo. I like painting.
Michelangelo. Australian Michelangelo.
Yeah, Australian.
Michelangelo.
Hello?
Hello, Michelangelo.
It's some good perspective, don't you think?
Bloody good painting, mate. Yeah.
If I do say so.
I reckon it's a pretty good, good job there. Yeah.
Pretty good job there.
Oh, dude, no, it just sucks though because these Medicis, like, they own all of all the Italian states, all this money. Everyone is just like they can just kill you if you don't.
Yeah, everyone talks about how shitty the Borgias were, but the Medicis were really bad.
Well, wasn't the Machiavelli? That was him, the prince. Didn't he write that as like? Because from what I heard, he wrote that just to impress them. He was like, I wrote this for you guys. I was inspired by you guys. I love it.
I mean, he wasn't that way in real life.
No, from what I heard, it was all a ploy just to get into the good graces.
And then his I think I must have read his discourses in high school. It was a long ass time ago, but I remember thinking this doesn't seem like the same fellow.
Yeah, well, also because some of the rules, it was just like if you want to be a good leader, be a Medici. It's like very pandering. Like, it's
so funny.
Yeah, he was like big leader. Yeah, good leaders are very virile and get laid a lot. Just
it's funny, and like he wasn't a great politician himself apparently because he was a good theorist, but he was unable to really put his theory into practice, I guess. So he just didn't have appointments for a long time.
Right, yeah.
That's all you had to, I mean, as a public figure like that, all you could do was try to get appointments.
Appointments are like your What's the like? It's like having a client. Like, yeah, I'm good. It's like very life coachy actually.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna coach this leader on how to do this.
Yes, it was super like that, and then you had just people who were rich because and were famous because they're famous and stuff. I don't know.
Honestly, being the right hand man of someone would be so much fun. Like whispering things in their ear, like making them kill their brother or something.
Yeah, or I've always wanted to. I've always dreamt about being like just the person behind the scenes.
Yeah, or like a Rasputin kind of guy, where like you just take over, like you're just.
There's a word for that. Eminence grise, I think is the word. Yeah. Gray eminence, which means you just are behind the scenes controlling everything.
Yeah, very Saruman-y.
Saruman.
Yeah, Saruman or Wormtongue. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like in a good way.
We should make horrible parodies of movies, and we don't change anything about them except that everyone is Italian.
Oh, yeah.
And it has Italian names. Saruman. And it's just the same plot and everything, no jokes.
Saruman. Sauron. I go to Mordor.
Go to Mordor.
Frodo, do not go.
Oh, Frodo, do not go to Mordor.
To Mordor. This piece of shit Aragorn.
I just like the idea of changing nothing and just making it a little stupider. Just like
Gandalf, please, I do not go down there.
Yeah, just a little casually racist against Italians. Just that's the only change.
It just has like accordion music the entire time. Yeah, like bump.
And then just as there's a, and the his fucking helicopter shots, or just the like surrounding things. That's what Peter Jackson likes to do. He likes swiveling around shit.
Oh, because every Peter Jackson scene starts with like the mountains and sweeps down, and there's like it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's that, and it's just like little accordion music, like tiny accordion music.
Oh my god, yeah, and like half of it's just like cooking and like the rude like Italian mom like barking out orders.
Eat some. What was that? That shepherd's bread or something?
Oh yeah, the lambus bread or whatever.
Lambus bread. Eat that. Eat this lambus bread. You're skinny.
Yeah. No, they're just like putting on like olive oil and shit. Like it's like a bruschetta.
Italian mom sees Smeagol like, oh my god.
Yeah. Just like hitting with a spoon. Yeah.
We have to feed this man. Eat. They take away his ring until he eats.
You are nothing but skin and bones.
Yeah, nothing but skin and bones. I would think that'd be so funny. Just putting Smeagol in putting Gollum in with a bunch of Italian moms. Like, oh Christ!
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia! They're all freaking out.
Mi bambino, he is so small. We can
there's just a clamor to get him food. It's like busily cooking everywhere, and he escapes while they're busily cooking and shaking their heads and swearing to themselves.
Oh man! Or because these are all like classical Italians, but they could also be like just the like Long Island Italians. He's like, hey bro, you get that? We gotta put that ring in the volcano.
In the volcano.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like Lord of the Rings, but everyone's a plumber. That'd be funny. Yeah, everyone's like a fat plumber with like a Yankees hat.
Oh,
man. Anyway,
what if when he put the ring in Mordor, it just did a Pompeii thing and all the lava came out? I don't know. Anyway.
It'd be cool to die in a natural disaster, though.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like that. I'd like that.
I'd like it.
That one's supposed to happen in Utah, like soon.
Oh, the earthquake?
Supposed to happen. Have a big earthquake and all die. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway. I have Peter the Great.
Oh.
That's who I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
I think he's such an interesting guy. He was 6'8".
Wow.
Giant man, especially for back then.
What year is this for the layman?
What year is this? Actually. I don't know if I wrote down the year. I think it's 1600s. Pretty sure it's 1600s.
What country is this? Peter the Great? Is he in Russia?
Russia,
right?
Yeah.
Oh no, I play as him in Civilization.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a
1682 through 1725.
That's a short lifespan.
So 1600s and 1700s. Yeah.
Jesus.
He got a fucking load done though. He was obsessed with naval, like he was educated in everything, and he was skilled in everything and extremely smart.
And he's 6'8".
Yeah, and he's 6'8", and he was just very tall and kind of narrow, a tall, looming, narrow man.
A little lanky guy.
Yeah, and then he was supposed to have like a small head for his body too.
Oh, I love that.
Just a pin-headed.
Yeah, you ever see like a little small head on someone? It's so funny. Well, like especially like a big buff guy with like a
And there are stories of him like disguising himself to go to other courts, and nobody was fooled.
Yeah, it was like this 6'8" gigantic man comes in. Yeah, it's like, hello, I am here to see you.
So funny when he met the King of France, who was 7 years old, one of the Louis. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
7 years old at the time. He kept making a furor in court because he had such bad manners. And, like he was royal from he was like king from the time he was tiny too.
Oh, so he just treated everyone like shit.
Treated everyone like shit. And he had no morals, but he just thought it was really funny to pick the King of France up. And he like picked him up and carried him up the steps under his arms and stuff.
That's such a power move. Everyone's like, stop it, put me down, make me. You can't. Yeah, you can't. I'm 6'8". Oh god, that's so funny.
And he had
That's
already.
probably why like World War I eventually happened, because like they just bullied each other so much. Yeah, that's so funny.
I think he just was having a good time and was like picking the King of France up. When he met him, he was like, my friend, and he like picked him up and hugged him. He like picked him up and hugged him and shit. And then everyone was totally afraid, like, what the hell?
He's picking up the king. Sir, please put the king down. Yeah, he's just like, yeah. Oh my god.
He's like, what king? Oh, this?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
He's just this gruff man.
No, but I really love the idea of him like undercover bossing his empire. Like he just goes in, he's like, "Hello, fellow peasants. So what are we doing today? Are we talking about
Just this 6'8" man.
Yeah. He's like, not talking about revolution. I hope. Like, no. Yeah. Like, of course not. Yeah.
Oh, everyone hated him too. Everyone just fucking hated him.
So was he killed or he just got sick?
No, he just got sick later. He had a full life. I will tell you, he had a full life.
Yeah.
When he was a kid, they cut a hole in. So his brother Ivan V was co-Tsar.
Hold on,
with
Ivan
him.
the Terrible?
No,
different.
No,
Ivan.
Ivan V. Okay. He was like mentally challenged, and so he was a co-Tsar with Peter, and I think they did that just to make him like feel good.
That's kind of wholesome.
Like
I kind of like that they didn't like cast him out. They're like, oh, buddy, They kind of that's kind of nice.
Yeah, he was physically infirm and mentally infirm. Apparently, he was just all screwed up.
Also, those royal families, I imagine, there's a lot of incest and bad genetics.
A lot of that, made a lot of him crazy. But he was described as ineffective. I saw it was just he was ineffective. So they both kind of ruled together, I guess. But Peter was the person everybody went to. They were around the same age. But there was a hole cut in the back of his chair, so his mom could tell him what to do behind him.
Wait, what do you mean? So a big chair, like a hole by the ear?
There was a big throne-like chair with a high back.
Oh.
And there was a hole cut in it, so his mom could hide behind the chair and tell him what to say.
She was in the chair pretty much. She was like whispering.
She was behind the
That's amazing.
Isn't that interesting?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So his mom was pretty smart.
She was supposed to be a really intelligent lady, but somebody saw to his education. He was one of the most educated rulers of time, I guess.
That's good.
And he was obsessed with like military strategy and navigation, and he just had his mind on ruling from the time he was small, like Mozart with music. So he played with his toy soldiers, and he'd get him into regiments and stuff.
Jesus.
And then he'd just ship build as a kid. He'd build actual ships and sail them around.
It's so funny because nowadays this would just be any kind of nerd. Like this is like what you and I would do. But because he had access to a throne, he could actually make this happen.
I know. He just like, I want to build ships. Like nobody was going to give him a regiment.
Yeah.
So he just had to build a damn ship. But he was obsessed with making Russia a maritime nation because they were, they didn't have a lot of access to the sea. They didn't have a lot of good ports.
Just in the north, right?
Yeah, they had like Archangelsk and somewhere else, but it was in the north.
Okay.
And he eventually pushed the Turks out of the Ottoman Empire out of a few ports around the Black Sea. And then he just took those ports over, and then he tried to invade them later and kept getting defeated, and they were like, we'll stop attacking you in your weak spot here if you give us back those ports. He was like, okay.
Okay.
But he was obsessed with making it a naval power, and he made 1,000 galleons at one point, and they were so shitty, and like the wind blew the masts over it.
Poor guy. So his projects didn't go that well.
Well, that one didn't. He was actually very effective in a lot of other things.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
But he was just. I just think that's so funny. He was obsessed with westernizing Russia, and he single-handedly did. Like
well,
he was,
it's hard to imagine because Russia's so fucking big. It's like it's like covers so many and there's so many different ethnic groups too. Like I didn't realize that. It's like it's not just like Russians. There's like others like Kazakhs and like Uyghur. Like there's all kinds of shit.
That's why it was added to his title that he was king of all the Russias.
Yeah,
is what he was called.
Yeah, I remember reading something where like Lenin called Russia like a prison house of nations because like it's pretty basically a big jail for like all these like different ethnic.
That's
groups.
what America is now, I think.
No, yeah, seriously, like there's pretty much it's like a prison house. There's like multiple nations trapped in like one country, which is like, really weird.
They have all kinds of different cultures everywhere.
Yeah. It's funny too because countries that are like that, where it's like has a prison house thing, those are always the countries with the most fucked up social fabric.
Yes.
Because everyone's just like
they really should be their own nations.
I know, seriously, yeah.
Really
No, I sort of agree with like having all the stands because it's it's
I
good.
mean,
You separate them out.
When you get into states' rights and shit like that, I mean, that's considered a rightist viewpoint that you're for states' rights. But like the Scandinavian nations right now get by so well because everything's kind of decided on a county level.
Oh,
so they even like go further than states' rights a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's federalization, and it's pretty strict, but a lot of things are determined just close to what's actually happening.
That's cool.
Which is what big nations like ours tend to do poorly.
Yeah, exactly. Because like the U.S. is so fucking big.
Huge.
That like no one has anything in common, so it's like very weird. Like it's very hard for all to walk in like the same steps. It's like really weird. You can't
in Alaska, just like all these Eskimos like just fighting against the cold with their furs, and somebody walks up to them just like.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like, "We can marry men now," and they're like. Oh, good.
Okay,
just
all right.
freezing.
So, hey, do you know anything about those like tax subsidies? Like, I don't know about that, but
just discussing. That would be a great sketch. Just discussing the finer points of federal politics in the middle of Alaska. Yeah, like, they're just very in the know.
He's like, I'm not sure about that one, but gun laws are changing. He's like, okay,
gun laws.
I'm starving right now.
When are they going to have register guns for people? When are they going to actually buckle down and have guns registered to everybody? And they're just mad about that up there.
Oh man, honestly, I just don't see the point of a really big country. I think teeny tiny countries. That's
city states.
Yeah,
city states. That's what Colin Quinn's new special.
Oh, that's right.
That's
true. Are we like subconsciously channeling him? All right, we'll move later.
Anything he says, I'll readily believe. Pretty much. Yeah. Like I don't care. That's fine.
Oh man. Well, because isn't the utopian whatever? It's like we all live in city states. There's no real borders. Then we all have this like global society. Like because it always in sci-fi shows, it's always Earth is like a one big society.
Yeah.
There's no like countries.
Yeah.
It's like it's like I'm in San Francisco today, but then I'm going to Kinshasa to go to a conference. You kind of like teleport there,
and it's all falling apart. I mean, in Star Trek they're apparently pretty well ordered and put together, but in Star Wars, I think that's probably the more realistic political state.
I don't know. Yeah. Star Wars is Star Wars is the more capitalist view. It's like all like
really.
Well, it's so funny because like they have like the really nice planets where it's like all awesome, but then they have those like shitty ass like.
Yeah, no, I think if there were a big federation like that, that's how it would be. I mean, there would just be like planets where you had all the wealth poured in, and then planets that are that have just gone to shit.
Gone to shit.
Like Tatooine.
Oh man. No, it's funny too because like Star Trek is all like commentary and stuff, but it's like
Yeah, Star Trek's definitely more highbrow, I'd say.
Oh man. Anyway, sorry, not history.
You're good. Okay. But he implemented all these reforms. Peter the Great did. He wanted to westernize Russia so badly that this is how he started. He had everybody cut off their beards.
I was gonna say, like, what do you mean with westernize? Because I mean, it's already.
I mean, it wasn't.
Was Russia not considered the West?
No, not back then. Okay. Not before Peter the Great. He single-handedly made it so that European countries took them seriously. Russia had always dreamt of marrying their sons and daughters off to other countries, and the other country was like, that's cute.
Oh, people didn't want. That's so embarrassing. Here's my daughter, which is already like an embarrassing thing to offer your kid to somebody.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no,
thanks.
I don't want him.
But Peter the Great was one of the first rulers to actually successfully like have relations with other countries, because he modernized like the textile industry. He did all sorts of things.
Damn, okay.
He was able to set up trade with a whole bunch of countries. He didn't sleep also.
That's probably why he died.
Yeah.
He probably just.
Well, he was very robust apparently, and he could withstand anything. So he drank a lot and like didn't feel it, and
he was just doing too much.
Yeah, and that's a trouble too, because if you're robust like that and you can't feel the damage it's doing to you, you're more likely to do damage to yourself. So he had everyone shave their beards, and which were almost like a religious requirement because
for the orthodoxy and stuff.
Not long before that there was a I think it was called Adrian, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, like said, don't cut off your beards, that's dumb. And then so everybody had their beards. He started taxing beards.
Oh.
So you had to pay a tax if you wanted to keep your beards, and the tax was so egregious that most noblemen just exceeded. And so a lot of noblemen, because they thought it was religious, would cut off their beards and keep them.
What? Just as like in a bag?
Yeah.
That's fucking weird. What
do you mean? Like in a box, and then they'd keep them, and they'd like have them.
Just the shavings, their hair.
Yep.
What do you do with it though? I don't understand.
Well, they had them buried with them.
Oh my god, man, that's hilarious.
It's
honestly,
so funny.
I love Orthodox. They're so funny. Like that shit is great.
Religion that makes you do the darndest things. That should be another show we have. Yeah. The religious do the darndest
things. No
things.
offense to any Orthodox.
No,
that's just hilarious.
No offense. I mean, to we who are not enlightened, it seems silly, but you know.
That's interesting. Yeah, like I'll keep it.
But he also pissed everyone off because he tolerated all religion. He just didn't care. He was just like, that's fine. I mean, the Nevsky Prospect was becoming a big market street in Russia. I mean, he founded St. Petersburg also.
Oh, okay.
And then
did he move the capital there?
He did move the capital, but I think eventually it moved back within his reign. I can't remember why. Okay. But
damn, he did a lot.
Yeah, he did a fuckload. But he made sure there was a church to represent like each sect there. He didn't like the Jesuits was one thing because they kept...
No one liked the Jesuits.
Yeah, they kept meddling in politics. He was like, I don't care as long as you don't fuck with politics.
That happened in China, like in the 20th century. The Jesuits were in, or like the 19th century. Like these Jesuits were in China. They were trying to like just proselytize. They all got killed. It was just murdered.
Well, in China, they for a long time they couldn't even get near the city. They couldn't even get near China.
They would just behead you because get the fuck out of here, man. Like we're not going to convert.
One of the emperors said that any Christian within the bounds of China will be killed.
That's so fucking badass. That's awesome.
But they were tenacious, the Jesuits. I mean, they really went for it. I mean, they eventually they were able to go in, and then they befriended the Chinese emperor. And then they went to Japan, the Jesuits, and they showed him how to make clocks. I mean, they showed him clocks and shit, but they didn't tell him how to fix them to make it more wondrous to keep him around. So he gave the emperor a clock, and the emperor's like, fine, and they sent him away, and then the clock stopped working, and nobody could make it work. So he was like, okay, Jesuits, you can come on back.
Hey, can you give me a hand with this?
Yeah.
What a scheme. That's a weird scheme.
I know, it's so interesting. It's so interesting, but the Jesuits they really believed that stuff. And they would just do anything. They'd risk their lives over and over.
So the Jesuits were kind of like the Mormons back then. They were just like flying around.
Kind of. I think they believed more than the
Mormons. Oh yeah.
I mean, their work ethic, their study ethic was a lot stronger than anything that's happening right now.
Honestly, it's kind of why I do envy religious people who are like who just have like this fire under their ass.
Yeah.
Because it's like, damn, I mean, I say what you want, but they do work pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you can be worshipful of anything.
That's true.
I mean, it'll being belittled by an endless goal is one of the joys of life.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, look at Peter. Yeah.
He was so. So I split these facts into great and not great.
Oh, can I see what's the great facts?
Okay, so we'll go to the great ones. Where are they? He loved fun. He just loved it.
He just liked to have fun.
He liked to have fun, and he thought religion was pretty silly, and
That's
he didn't
hilarious.
believe in anything. So he and his friends, he had a friend group, and they made this mock religion, and they would do like lewd mock rituals of Russian Orthodoxy.
That's so funny.
And then he would just like do crazy like frat boy things.
Oh my god! I just imagine them just like what's that like the Orthodox like sage burning thing where they like just like He's naked, just has a cross.
Yeah, just like nude. They just be, it's like Animal House. But they just did it to make fun of religion.
Just doing keg stands in the church.
And then he had like a friend who was the head of this religion, and I think I read that he pretended to be subservient to him. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's funny. You see the levels?
Yep.
We're good. We're back. Okay,
Right.
yeah, our thing died, our recorder.
Yeah.
Oh, and we were right in the middle of that Peter chat.
Yeah.
It was good. I think we were talking about his mock religion or something.
Yeah, we were talking about his mock religion, and then we were going over the lighter things about him.
Oh yeah.
Among those are he liked exploiting little people for his entertainment.
Oh yeah, so yeah, he was not kind to the midgets.
No,
not a nice man.
he had a procession, and he would proceed through the streets of the city with this procession of little people with him at the head, and he would just lead them around.
I feel so bad for little people because like pretty much throughout history until modern times, they were only used in like novelty event shit. It's so insulting.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's like, hey, I'm also like a good. I'm a cartographer.
Cartographer.
Peter's like, go over there, dance. Come on.
Yeah, he just had them. He had them jump out of pies all the time.
Oh.
He'd have big pies baked.
Oh, did he have them fight? I bet he had them fight a bunch of times.
I don't know. I didn't read anything about that.
Up all the time.
He probably did.
He probably threw them around. And Ugh.
And then let's see. So people would give him gifts all the time because he was the king. This is something they would people would send him slaves from Africa.
Oh my god.
And he liked them and would just send them to school.
Oh, okay, so you just free them.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I don't know that he freed them, but he would like send them to school to learn and shit.
Oh, okay, so he wasn't using them for like manual labor.
But he like was very fond of them apparently. And he wasn't fond of many people.
Yeah.
But he
That's also a very strange concept of someone gifting you a human being.
Yes. That's
like,
so odd.
Dude, nice housewarming party. I just brought you something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, is it like a blender? No, it's a housewarming gift. What is it then? Is it like a toaster? No, it's a person.
Yeah, he was.
No, here they are. They're outside. You want to bring them in? Yeah.
They're like, you don't like it.
You don't like it. You can't return it. It's all the way from across the ocean.
Is there a gift receipt?
Yeah.
No, there's no gift receipt.
I already have one, so I don't want to take it.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
And then what was it? Let's see. He was very frugal about everything. Then he had I don't know whether we already talked about this, but he had prostitutes, and he wasn't into the whole connection thing, and they complained that he wasn't paying them enough, and he just said, I pay you as much as a soldier, which is worth more to me.
What a douche.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, once you're that powerful, especially if you've been a king your whole life, like you know nothing else than just being the most important person in the entire country.
Right.
That's insane.
It is. One of the slaves that was given to him, he was freed. Oh. And then he became a general in the Russian army.
Really?
He actually was the grandfather of Russia's Shakespeare, Alexander Pushkin.
So Pushkin is technically part black.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Pushkin was part black.
Oh, did you also another kind of secret black European Beethoven was black.
Was he?
Yeah, he was like Moorish, so he was like if you look at his paintings of Beethoven, he actually has like he actually does look pretty black.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like back then, like whiteness and blackness were like they weren't the constructs they are today. Like you just Yeah,
this is Pushkin. You guys can look it up on your phones. He's a fourth black.
Yeah, he sort of looks like I'm not sure. He looks like he
looks kind of like I don't know.
He looks like very Puerto Rican, like very Caribbean.
He does,
looking. Yeah, he's like very Latino looking.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A dashing man.
Dashing. Yeah. Dude, I gotta say, Russian writer. That is probably the most sexiest profession.
Yeah.
Being a Russian novelist or anything. Oh my god.
Him with his quill in his mouth.
Oh man, that's a hot photo. Actually, that's pretty hot.
That's a hot
Good
painting.
for him. Yeah.
But he and then what else? He Peter. He really esteemed being able to drink.
Oh, yeah.
So there was this French high priest when he was in France, and then he had his confessor there, Peter did, who was Russian, his Russian Orthodox confessor, and he was like, my priest can drink your priest under the table. So they had an hour-long drinking game, and the Russian eventually won, and Peter embraced him and like cried and said, you have saved the dignity of Russia.
That's so great. What a bro. This guy's the most, he really is this is like Wolf of Wall Street with like Russia. Yeah.
I bet my priest could drink you.
I bet you can't even drink all this vodka. Yeah. The priest is a poor like 60-year-old man. He's like, Milord, no. Yeah. I've already had so many lagers.
And he abolished arranged marriages.
Really?
Because he wanted everyone to marry for love.
Well, yeah, it's funny because like he's actually pretty progressive. Like he doesn't care about religion. Abolishes these like old archaic rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're gonna get to the not so great in a
minute.
Oh,
okay.
This is all the greats still.
Yeah.
Tolerated religion. He said that he wanted people to be able to think about joining a religion for the rest of their lives. So men could not vow themselves as monks before 30, and women could not be nuns before 50.
What?
Yeah.
Who's gonna live until 50 to be a nun?
I don't know.
Like 2 nuns. Yeah, in all of Russia. Yeah.
But he also did we're getting to the not so great now. He had a wife when he was younger because his mother thought it would civilize his boorish behavior, and he disliked her, so he forced her to become a nun, thereby annulling the marriage. And then his sister kept trying to gain power, so he made her become a nun too.
That's how he was excommunicating everybody, like making them become nuns.
All the women in his life.
To be fair, it's more compassionate than killing them.
I know.
He could have killed them.
He could have.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I've done that in the game Crusader Kings. Where you just like banish your child to like become a nun.
It's so funny. I think he thought his wife was boring because one time they were at a museum.
Probably because she couldn't drink that much.
Yeah, he probably couldn't drink. One time they were at a museum and there was like a mummified phallus. And he told her she had to kiss it. And she's like, I'm not kissing that. He was like, he just like got sad. He was like, kiss it. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Dude, being in his court, like he probably just grab you and like noogie you and stuff, like put you in a headlock and be like, come on, drink it, take the shot. You're like, stop it, Peter, stop.
And then he said, kiss it or I will have you flogged. And she still didn't, and he got just like grumpy and had a tantrum, and the only way they could get him out of his tantrum was by giving him the phallus. So the museum just gave him this penis. I know.
He's just carrying it. He's just taking it as a souvenir. What is with Russia and like keeping penises? Didn't they kept Rasputin's penis?
Did they?
Yeah, or someone's penis in like formaldehyde.
Oh wow.
This is in there. Yeah, it's huge. By the way. Yeah.
It's huge, by the way. Yeah. His fun having got really,
it's out of control.
Really out of control.
It's so funny.
He would have young women, people, and this wasn't for like sexual reasons either. He would just have like people who were underage drink whole bottles of brandy because he thought it was funny.
Just little kids getting shit faced.
Yeah, just getting completely.
God, he really liked drinking. This is it's probably why he died so young. He's probably having fucking pancreatic cancer. Yeah.
He commanded his friend to drink a whole bottle of vinegar. He thought it would be funny. And then he was like, he just like set a live tortoise in front of one of his friends and was just like, eat it.
Jesus. Dude, this really is like John Belushi. Like if John Belushi was the king of Russia. Yeah.
And he had
oh my god. He was like a rascal like doing pranks like on a college campus. And the dean is like, Peter.
It's so crazy. He wanted everybody to have better shoes because the shoemaking was really primitive.
Oh, yeah.
So he commanded all the shoemakers to go to Moscow to learn how to do it right. And he said, if you don't, you'll be sold into slavery.
Dude, just the fact that you can tell that to people. It's like, it's how you get shit done. You just threaten everybody and like bully them slightly. It's so funny.
Yeah. He did a lot of shit like that. There were so many bribes going around, and then all of his officials were taking bribes, and he said he would kill everyone who took bribes. And one of his aides was like, "But you'll have no officials left."
Yeah.
Then he killed some of them anyway. And there was a Russian proverb that arose around that time that went, "Christ himself would steal if his hands were not tied to the cross."
That's a Jesus.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, hey, come on, Jesus would take it too. Let's,
Everyone stole. He had a lot of hobbies. He just amused himself all the time. He would catch butterflies, was one of his hobbies. He always loved doing that. Also, dentistry.
What?
He was a dentist, and he learned how to do it. And there's a story about a friend of his who just married his wife, and she wouldn't have sex with him. He's like, she keeps saying she has a toothache, so he had her brought there. And then he pulled out the wrong tooth on purpose, and he said, I'll pull out another if you don't fuck my friend, basically.
My God.
Yeah.
This guy's an asshole.
He's so fucking...
Jesus. Well, it's like he has so much time on his hands to somehow do this, but also run the country.
Yeah, no, he got so much done, and he also just did this weird shit.
He's like, fuck my friend.
Like, all his friends had to beware that if they ever complained of a toothache, he would descend on them.
Yeah.
So they had to keep that quiet.
No, I was going to say, that's the most terrifying thing if you're like, oh, man, my tooth. And he just like comes in, like, throws you on the table, makes you drink a bunch of like vodka to like sedate you, and just starts going to town in your mouth.
Yeah, he went everywhere with his dentistry equipment.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
He carried it everywhere. He had his forceps for getting the tooth out.
This is like 1700s dentistry.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he loved it. He liked inflicting pain. And his son had no taste for bloodshed and was too fond of the Catholic Church, and because, I mean, was too fond of the Orthodox. Orthodox Church, and then so everybody wanted him in power. So there are all these rebellions, and his son was considering taking part in those rebellions. And then Peter put up with it for a while, and then he said, "I will spare nobody's life, not even my son's."
Wow.
And then eventually, because it just kept happening. He said, like, I'll give you two options. You either do what I say, you become a monk now. And he's like, I'll become a monk. And then he said, I'll give you 6 more months to decide. And then his son basically said, no, I don't want to rule the country. I don't want to do this. And then he had him tried by the High Court of Justice, which was a Senate he really put in place because he was going to be out fighting the Ottomans, which ended up gaining a lot of power. But they sentenced him to death for treason, his son.
Wait, so he couldn't take the monkship? The dad was like, no, you can't be.
Yeah, he was just like, never mind. And then they sentenced him to treason. They sentenced him to death. And then all he wanted to do was hug his girlfriend for the last time, basically, and they wouldn't let him. And then they just, instead of putting him to death, they just tortured him for a while. And rumor has it that Peter did a lot of the flogging.
Damn.
Yeah.
His own son?
Yeah, and he was tortured so badly that he just died in his cell.
Not a good guy.
No.
But that's such an interesting figure in history. It's like, it's like he could be progressive, but he could also oh my God.
Yeah, he had one humanizing thing about him is that there was a woman named Catherine.
Oh, okay.
Who was just like in some town, and then the Russian soldiers came and plundered the town, and so her father was trying to get out, and then he was trying to get out, and they were like, yeah, you can go, but your daughter has to stay with us. So she stayed and was like a comfort woman to the soldiers, and then she ended up being in a relationship with the commander. And then she got to know Peter that way, and then he liked her because she would put up with his other affairs. She didn't care apparently, and he had epileptic fits.
Oh, probably from all that drinking.
Yeah, he seized a lot, and then nobody would touch him, and she was the only person who would, and she would just caress him and
nobody would touch him because he would just put them in a. He would just tickle you or something.
Yeah, he would just tickle.
Like, stop it. He would just get his dentistry kit out.
Yeah.
And start yanking.
But she had a mollifying influence on his.
She kind of calmed him down a little bit. Oh, that's good. She
would save people from harsh sentences and things like that. So when he really wanted to do it, he'd just keep it from her. Because if she asked him not to, he wouldn't do it.
It's like, Peter, are you sentencing someone to death? Yes. I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Because they wouldn't do my drinking contest.
Yeah, so funny.
So they had to do it. Yeah.
But she was apparently a very nurturing person. He eventually made her his wife, so she became empress after being a prostitute for a long time. And she was supposed to have been very intelligent. But when she lived among the soldiers, it was said that somebody was shot next to her, and she didn't even flinch. He was just a badass.
Damn.
You're just a badass.
Such a Russian character too.
Yeah, man.
Like, no offense to Russians, but you guys are kind of soulless and very cold. So,
and she lived like a soldier just to follow him around on campaigns. She went with him, and she just lived like a soldier. She lived below her means and all that. I like to think she was just ditzy when the bullets came through.
Oh, yeah.
You know, someone shot next to her, just drinking tea. What?
What was it? Yeah.
Excuse me? She made herself really rich by selling her influence with the king, and then she invested the money under false names in Vienna, I think.
Damn.
And then so she was well to do.
Oh, so she was siphoning a little bit.
She was siphoning.
Okay.
And then by the time he
you
died,
gotta siphon a little bit. You can't trust the That's interesting.
So he was getting older, a little bit older, and then he had syphilis, and he drank a lot. And then there was one time when he was just out like surveying the docks, and then a ship was running aground, and it was winter, and he was just in poor health and like in the water trying to save these sailors. So he was in like waist deep in water all night, and then his health, like he survived that, but his health just started to decline.
Damn.
And then so he was basically because of complications, I think due to just over drinking, he knew he was going to die, so he sent for a slate so he could write his will. And he put "give all" and then went into a coma and then died.
What do you mean give all?
Give all, forgive all my stuff.
Oh,
that's all he got to write.
It's like a option on like a game, like give all, like all my stuff.
Yeah, that's all he could write. He didn't say to whom or anything.
Give all and just died.
Yep.
Damn. Okay, that's a very anticlimactic death. He just kind of got cold.
Yeah.
It's like George Washington. He just like went on a horse ride. It's like, I'm not feeling well. Yeah.
Francis Bacon died in a really funny way. So he was a big scientist throughout his life. After he failed at appointments to judge and things like that, he was England's High Chancellor for a while, and then he was actually taking too many bribes. So he just decided to commit himself to literature and science. But he wrote the essays, which are beautiful. And then he died because he wanted to see how long snow would preserve a corpse.
So he was in the snow all the time?
Yeah, he went and bought a live chicken, and then he killed it, and then he stuffed its ass with snow. He went outside and he stuffed its ass with snow. And then on his deathbed, he was heard to tell somebody, I was like, I'll probably die. The experiment went exceeding well, I must tell you.
It's like, can you go check out my chicken after I'm dead? Just stuff some more snow in there.
It's like all he cared about.
Oh my god. Well, damn. Well, that's quite a saga. Peter the Great.
Peter the Great.
That was good. Honestly, we should do more profiles like this.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to focus on one guy.
I think so.
Yeah. I feel so lame now. I'm like, this guy's done so much shit.
No, yeah.
I feel jealous.
He is so interesting. Peter the Great. Such an interesting psychological figure.
Yeah.
Like he was in some senses just very selfless.
Oh yeah.
And then everything that was not immediately close to him, he was selfless about. But he was just an impulsive person. So he would he knew what had to be done to keep the realm afloat, and he would do everything he can in that respect. But whatever he wanted to do, just whatever things were around him, he just do them. like wife, kiss this old penis.
Yeah. It's like midget, walk. He's like, no, okay. Yeah.
He's just the weirdest man.
God, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, hey, good shit. I guess that's our episode.
Yeah.
So we got the Peter the Great in. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, happy holidays, everyone. This will probably be out before Christmas. Yeah. So, yeah, you can gift it to your dad.
Gift it.
Yeah, he'll like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's free. You just send him the URL.
Yeah, just send him the URL. Oh, and we're finally on all the platforms. So what are the Spotify and
Stitcher,
and iTunes and YouTube and Facebook and your dog's ass.
Anchor was one.
Yeah, Anchor. It's on ESPN and it's on Amazon Prime and all those places. You'll find it. Just type it in. Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah, follow us. And send us some suggestions, like shit you want us to talk about or something. Yeah, that'd be
definitely good. Things to research.
Yeah, or if you hated something, you'd be like, I hated Max's cardigan or something. I don't know.
Yeah, don't tell us that.
Yeah, you can say.
I don't think. I mean, send them to Arash because I can't deal with criticism.
Yeah, like send us feedback, but only good feedback that'll make us feel better.
Only, just send it to Arash, and then he'll just hint that I should do things. Because I can't deal with criticism at all.
Yes, send the feedback to the opposite person, and it'll foment a kind of thing. Yeah,
it'll foment.
And we'll just kill each other.
We'll just kill each other. No. Send in things that we're not doing right, but don't put your name or I'll hate you.
And lesson of the day: if you're ever bored, hire some midgets. Or actually, no. The real lesson is if you really want to fuck with somebody, lift them up off the ground.
Yeah, lift them up off the ground. Yeah, or pull their teeth out.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Anyway.
Yeah, we love you guys. Follow us on Facebook and all that.